Earthquake, the 10th of March, 2025. هؤلاء, why do you continue to threaten me with death? I know that I will die. I find writing about things very unimportant anymore. It changes nothing because they are not being published anywhere and people are not reading them. Facebook is not a place to publish writings. It has become a den of political wannabes. They post pictures of people who died in 2013 due to the conflict and by the hands of the regime supporters, as though they are calling people to action against them now, in 2025. They pretend like they are reminding people of the killings and the atrocities that were committed by the regime and the factions supporting the regime, but really they are causing hatred to be kindled against them. Some of them are innocent, some of them do not approve of the war or what happened to the citizens in the past. Some of them do not even have the ability to carry arms against anyone. They post pictures of children killed by a chemical attack, pretending that it was the Alawites who did that and pretending like everyone's fingers were on the trigger at the same time. It was one single person who pulled the trigger and launched the chemical attack, not the whole faction. واحدهم الشيطان يحرضه يكتب ويكتب تتحرض شياطين الناس اللي تقرأ ألا لعنة الله على الكافرين. I hope he is always happy with me. I hope God is always happy with me. They do not want someone to bring them justice and make it propagate across the land. They want someone who would side with them and accept their justifications and regulations. If they want to kill a certain faction off the face of the earth, they would want him to side with their decision and not disagree with them. They would want him to allow and permit whatever they want to be permitted across the board and to forbid whatever they dislike and nothing else. If an earthquake is to occur somewhere, people will be warned prematurely. Those whom God would save from dying in the earthquake would have a spontaneous reason to leave the land prior to the earthquake hitting it. When they later hear of the earthquake hitting the land, they would start saying different things. Some of them would say, "Thank God, had it not been for him, we would not have been saved." Others would say, "Had my relative not called me with a quick errand to run for them outside of the city, I would have died in the earthquake." Yet others would say, "It was a sudden and random reason that I left the city. God had nothing to do with it." If only people knew that each and every one who was saved was meant to be saved because God wanted to save them. The first group who said that it was God who saved them would be the believers, who would ascribe every gracious act in their lives to God and His mercy and blessings. The second group would be those who ascribe other causes for their salvation, those who disbelieved and thought that it was people who had saved them. This type of people, God would give respite and delay them for a time when they would come to know exactly how their salvation rests only with God, when their relatives and their friends would abandon them and not look back, when they would cry to them to look at them, but they would not. If they did ascribe those as partners to God, making their salvation bound to them rather than to God, then they would be following them on the day of judgment. The third group, who would say that God had nothing to do with it, are those who are already destined to hellfire, because although they realize there is a greater power at play in everyone's lives, they still denied this greater power is God, and they thought that randomness was a cause instead of God. I do not believe in randomness. There are those people who, when afflicted with a calamity, would cry out so that people would notice and sympathize with them. And there are those who, when struck with a calamity, would still show gratitude that their calamity did not result in their death. Okay, now give evidence for the afterlife, a God that cares about sin, the resurrection. So you're saying you need evidence that people will be punished for the sins they commit against others? Do you really need evidence that people will be punished for transgressing and oppressing others? God does care about sin because He is just. Thus, He will, by necessity, judge people in the hereafter. This also means that those who died will be resurrected in order to be judged. And this also means that those who died sinners will have an afterlife in hell, while those who died believers will have an afterlife in heaven. If you do not believe in heaven and hell, then you will always rely on doubts and what doubt instills within you, and you will always ask for evidence, as though people merit more and more evidence. What had previous peoples done when evidence and miracles were presented to them? They just disbelieved in them and asked for more and more evidence. People asked for a glimpse into heaven in order to believe it exists. What are you going to ask now? Evidence of what? Rationality is enough evidence. You are created with a consciousness. This consciousness will remain conscious until you are judged by God for the sins that you did in your earthly life, and even after. Then your conscious body and mind will either be given reward in heaven or made to suffer punishment in hell. God does not need to provide any more evidence than what He had already presented to the earlier generations. We are all the same, and we will all be judged in a similar manner to them. The 11th of March, 2025. And poets are followed by those deluded people. وَالشُّعَرَاءُ يَتَّبِعُهُمُ الْغَاوُونَ. The Bhavishya Purana, Parv 3, Khand 3, Adhyaya 3, Shlokas 5 to 8 states, Amlecha, a foreigner, spiritual teacher, will appear with his companions. His name will be Muhammad. Raja Hoj, after giving this Mahadev Arab of angelic disposition a bath in the Panchgavya and Ganga water, purifying him of all sins, offered him the present of his sincere devotion, and showing him all reverence, said, I make obeisance to thee, O ye, the pride of mankind, the dweller in Arabia. You have collected a great force to kill the devil, and you yourself been protected from the Malecha opponents. Shlokas 10 to 27 says, to show these enemies the right path and to give them guidance. The well-known Muhammad is busy in bringing the Pishachas to the right path. O Raja, you need not go to the land of the foolish Pisachas. You will be purified through my kindness, even where you are. At night, he of the angelic disposition, the shrewd man, in the guise of Pishacha, said to Raja Bhoj, O Raja, your Arya Dharma has been made to prevail over all religions, but according to the commandments of Ishwar, Paramatma, I shall enforce the strong creed of the meat-eaters. My followers will be men circumcised, without a tail on his head, keeping beard, creating a revolution announcing the Adhan, the Muslim call for prayer, and will be eaten all lawful things. He will eat all sorts of animals except swine. They will not seek purification from the holy shrubs. but will be purified through warfare. On account of their fighting the irreligious nations, they will be known as Musalmans. I shall be the originator of this religion of the meat-eating nations.